December 10th, 1:03 p.m. Hello everyone. Today I'm gonna go over the channels that I use for personal learning, personal knowledge. So I'm gonna start with the sorry about that, the first five that I use the most. So it's economic invincibility, lindybeige, powerful Joe Rogan experience, Joe Rogan, secure team 10, and the burgerkrieg. So I'm going to shortly explain all of them. So economic invincibility is an independent, well, just one guy with a webcam, and he talks about a lot of interpersonal relationship stuff, a lot of personal growth and stock options, a little bit all over the place, but kind of like me, so I kind of associate with him. I have the burgerkrieg, which is the last of the five I mentioned, which is kind of the same as economic invincibility, do with a webcam. He throws out good ideas and has good discussions. He's a writer, so he writes a lot and has some videos about that. So if you're looking for knowledge about writing, he's a good guy to go to. Then lindybeige is actually the best not a war commentator, but war historian I've come across on YouTube. He talks about everything from modern warfare to ancient Rome and ancient Greek. And he just has very interesting ideas and actually really interesting production value. He owns a lot of good cameras and actually armor at arms, so he shows off a lot, and he made his own armor too, which is pretty sweet. For that, the Joe Rogan experience, the powerfulJRE, it's called, is actually a super popular YouTube channel. He's amazing. He does a long form every day or two. He does a 3-hour, about 2 hours interview with someone, usually someone very notable. So there's some for every taste. He's one of the best interviewers on earth, I think. Also has like billions of collective views, so that's kind of insane. Secure Team 10 is the last of my top 5. It's a paranormal investigative channel, well, more reportive. A lot. He gets again, so one dude in his house with his, well, it doesn't have a webcam, but has a microphone, and he just talks about the alien, UFO, EBEs, and that type of stuff. Everything is happening live all over the world. He updates every day, like 2-3 times a day, so he has a lot of content, which is very fascinating. Usually people like that, I don't find they have that much content to put on, but he has something new every day. So next on my list of channels are my esoteric knowledge channels, or like alternative history channels. So the first on my list, and my top one that really got me in this thing, is Mudfossil University. I don't remember the name of the guy, I'm sorry, but he's quite the character. He has very controversial ideas. The ideas that Earth is, well, it's not that one, or that Earth is a living being is not that controversial. A lot of ecologists think that, Gaia, but he posits that, I don't know when, millions of years ago possibly, or hundreds of thousands, Titans, actually like country-sized living beings, used to live on Earth, and he shows found a few of their skeletons, as he says, online on Google Maps that he shows you, and it's pretty fun to look at. I don't know if I buy all of it, but he also posits, as the name of his university, Mudfossil, that a lot of the rocks that we have and the fossils that were left in the mud, that have been fossilized in the mud, have been kept and are proof of biology. Basically, that rocks are biology. Sand is skin that's been dried and granulated, things like that. He goes into depth into the chemistry of everything, and it, from what I can tell, it does add up. So it's pretty, and there's like the ancient statues that they found are big round balls that are found all around the world that are huge. He posits those statues were biological beings that have been turned to stone through some reason, and that the big balls that you find like all around the world are huge, like 6-7 diameters across, and like he says those are joints from, again, big ass Titans. And then he posits that later on smaller titans arised, and then we got to humans. So next on this is ancient architects. He goes over most of the megaliths, and actually the next three channels, Ancient Architects, Brian Forrester, and Bright Insight. They all go through the list of megaliths and ancient, they go megaliths and ancient civilizations to kind of connect the dots, because it's weird, but a lot of ancient cultures from like thousands of years ago, 4,000 or 5,000 years, or not 4,000, yeah, 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, were not that they were connected, but they spoke about the same thing, the same gods that descended from the sky, the flood, the great cataclysm. They all had weird big ass megaliths with very, right angles and machine looking made stones. So Ancient Architects delves into a lot of the megaliths and kind of debunks the original theories that we have about them. Brian Forrester is more of an on-the-ground guy. He actually goes to the megaliths instead of doing online work like Ancient Architects. I think he's an actual architect or geologist. I'm not sure about that though. So that's Brian Forrester. Awesome dude. He has a website called Hidden Inca Tours, where he invites a lot of scientists to come and discuss things with him. And then Bright Insight, which is kind of like Ancient Architects. He delves into myths and a lot of ancient history, and kind of goes over where it doesn't make a lot of sense, like how did we build the pyramids, and who built the pyramid, when, why. Goes over that, and I think it's him that posited the idea that what I heard of anyway from him, that the pyramids were a water energy plant, like a power plant to make energy, because at the time the Nile River was way closer and might have been diverted around the pyramid and underneath so that it goes in, and the king's, the queen's chambers were like antechambers to hold the water and stuff like that. And finally on this list of esoteric knowledge is a guy I found recently. It's called Mr. Astrotheology. I literally found him a few months ago. He's been talking about a lot of astrology and healing with the body, and I don't know if I believe all of that yet, or even understand most of it, if it can be understood, but it's an interesting thing that it's piqued my interest. Those are the 5 channels for kind of my esoteric knowledge, people I go to for stuff I wouldn't get anywhere else. And then we have the channels I listen to that have kind of hard science-related content, and very, maybe philosophy also. First is vsauce, which is kind of philosophical. If no one knows vsauce, he's kind of an education channel. He broaches topics that are very kind of mind-turning, and he goes over a lot of paradoxes in life and in science and maths. Just if you want a interesting 20-minute, he does about 15-20 minute videos. If you want interesting ones, guy to go to. Then I have ASAPscience, which is quick 3 to 4 minute videos about general science subjects. Very nice. You have something like where does rain come from, or this cycle of carbon, you want to learn it. Very good. Bozeman Science, Bozeman Science. Good if, I think he just explains literally like chemistry, math, and science, geology, so general learning. There's veritasium, which is kind of like vsauce, goes over a few things. He's more science oriented, so he'll teach you about gravity, stuff like that. And then CGPgrey, which is, he's very popular, but I'm not sure why. He does very succinct, very precise, and very informative videos about things you don't usually think about, like what are U.S. territories, whether they represent legally, stuff like that, and who's still part of the British Empire. So stuff, just like very interesting, kind of odd questions, but interesting. Then healthcare triage. I go to him for information about healthcare, really, like science about healthcare. He's a doctor, so he has a very interesting point of view. And finally on this list for hard sciences is kurzgesagt. 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 He's kind of like ASAPscience. He does a little 4, 5, 6 minutes videos, maybe 10, about possible what would happen if kind of a meteor hit Earth, or if everybody died at the same time, if stuff like that. Just big questions that are kind of AAA movie questions, like 2012 Cataclysms. And finally, I'm gonna go over the channels just that are miscellaneous. So there's ADVchina, two white dudes living in China. I think they're Australian, and they do videos about what's happening there, about China, and they live in it, so it's very, very interesting from their point of view. Like, they talk to the population, go see people, and they'll go to little towns. Well, there's no little towns really in China. Everything's cramped, I find. And there's Jim Sterling. Since Total Biscuit sadly passed away, I've been looking for someone else for video game reviews, so I've gone to Jim Sterling. Not bad, you know. I like to, honestly, I kind of just read the titles from my subscription box bar. I know like which games come out, and then I can look at them on my own. I like to have a steady influx of information for what's happening in the kind of like video game world. Then Nerd Writer 1. Again, he's a writer. He has an amazing editing style. His videos are super crisp and nice to look at. Again, he talks about a lot of movies and books. And yeah. Then Raging Golden Eagle. He's kind of a MGTOW content creator. Talks about general news too. Then JJ McCullough. He's a Canadian reporter and journalist, and so he explains a lot about like world politics in general, and has a few videos about Canada, which I really enjoy, so I put him on my list. Then Sandman, another MGTOW content creator. Next, nobullshit, which is, honestly, I listen to him for laughs and giggles. He's kind of, what do you do? He does South Park reviews. He does politics. Like, he hits on the left a lot. That's pretty much it from the content I absorb from him. Yeah, I just enjoy him. Enjoy listening to how he talks about things. He has very similar videos. All his formats are the same, so it's easy to get into. Just listen to 10 of them real quick. Goes over recent events, I guess, and has a fairly right-wing view of things, so I do see a lot of his biases. That's okay. And last on my list is an interesting little channel. It's called The Venus Project. I haven't been there a while. The guy that started it actually died recently. He was like 95 or something. And it's a very interesting project that's tries to give the idea to everyone to live in circular ringed cities with infrastructure like schools and important governmental things in the middle, and residentials at in the center you have the important buildings and schools and political offices and stuff like that, and your power plants. And then you go out and you have like living quarters, and then your agriculture and your factories, and just a very interesting concept. It's very, like, this guy's an ecologist and very green, I'd say, but it's a very interesting take on how the cities of the future, basically. So that's my list about the channels I use for learning. I hope this one wasn't too long, but probably was. That's fine. And my last one will be channels I use for entertainment, a lot of gaming and lore videos. So hopefully I'll do this one in not too long. See you guys later.